And a very good morning to our listeners here in Anguilla, the Caribbean, and the rest of the world. Welcome to another in our series of political interviews as we look forward to the 2020 general election here in Anguilla. This morning we are joined in Studio A by the candidates from the Anguilla Progressive Movement. We have the district candidate for district number 4, Dee-Ann Kentish-Rogers. And we also have the island-wide candidates for the APM as well, Hodge, Kenneth, Hodge, Quincia Gumbs-Marie, and we should be having Kennedy Hodge as well. So I would just want to go across the table and say a very warm welcome to you folks.
Good morning, I'm Keith Stone. Good morning to our radio listeners. It's a pleasure being here. It's a fine Monday morning in Anguilla, and we're looking forward to a very good interview over the next couple of minutes.
All right, thank you so very much. So here we go. The issues, Kyle Hodge, the issues that win elections in Anguilla.
Issues that win elections. I think that what is very important to the people of Anguilla is the economy. When we go around and we talk to people in our communities, they talk about the lack of things to do in the community. They talk about recreation. They talk about jobs. They talk about their salary. Having a living wage. So those are the main issues that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Expansion of the economy, fishing, agriculture. These are all very, very good topics that people are discussing.
Dee-Ann Kentish-Rogers, what are the issues in this election?
I would definitely agree with Kyle that it comes down to the economy, but it also extends to healthcare. Everywhere that we've gone from house to house, people have serious concerns about the standard of health in Anguilla and its sustainability in the future. A lot of young Anguillians and all Anguillians alike have left Anguilla because of medical care, and they have taken permanent residence in places where they have access to free healthcare under the NHS system in the UK. So I think we really have to take a really close glance at what's happening in our healthcare system that's causing Anguillians to lose faith. Sorry for my voice.
That's fine. Kenneth Hodge, the issues that win elections in Anguilla and the issues in this current cycle
And
for this election cycle.
yes, Keith Stone, for me, it's education, it's our young people. I'm so disturbed when I'm speaking to our young people, our students, to hear the issues that they are having with the quality of education in Anguilla. We have to review our system of education, Keith. We have to reform it. We have to transform it. The students are speaking out. The teachers are speaking out. The parents are speaking out. We have to do something about it. It is clearly not working for us here in this country, and we have to do something about it.
Quincia Gumbs-Marie, same thing. The issues in this election, the core fundamental issues, and the issues that win elections in Anguilla.
Good morning, Keith. Not to repeat what my colleague said, all of those are issues, but one thing that we also must touch on is business support. A lot of entrepreneurs are tired. They're looking for a way out. They're willing to give up. They're willing to close up shop because they feel like they don't have support. They don't have support from government. They don't have support from different policies. And so we really need to work on ensuring that the existing entrepreneurs can feel the support, and entrepreneurs of the future can know that they have a government that will support them.
Okay, fine. How big an issue is the question of likability of candidates and the question also of handouts, money, appliances, and paying for medical bills for people, paying for student loan and so on? How, in your view, do these issues actually play out in the Anguillian context? I'm getting real nitty-gritty now. Let's get real. In the Anguillian context.
Right.
Likability, for example, as I said, and handouts. I'm hearing a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, people,
handouts.
likability is huge. You have to be able to connect with your people. You have to be approachable because, you're representing everybody. You're not just representing a few people. So, people have to realize they have to know they can trust you. They have to know that that you're someone that they can talk to at any point in time. They can call. they can meet on the road and say, hey, flag me down in my van as they pass. And that's a huge factor. You have to be accessible and always ready to be able to engage with people. You also talked about gifts. What was it?
Handouts,
Right,
and the money factor and appliances and so on. Are we still
I'm
into
hearing,
that level
I mean,
of politics in Anguilla?
I believe so. That's the talk.
Does this concern you?
It's concerning. It's concerning. Because,
What would you do differently if you're elected?
you know, we have to give hope and empower people. This is what it's all about. The handouts, the free stuff, they last for just a short time. But when we give hope and we empower people, they last for a lifetime. It goes down to generations. When we inspire this generation will inspire a next generation. So that's what it is for me and this Anguilla Progressive Movement.
Let's hear your thought on this, Dee-Ann.
Well, I would have to agree with Kyle in terms of likability is really what it's coming down to is whether I can trust my representative, whether I can access
The
my
trust
representative
factor.
when it comes down to asking them about things that are affecting me in my life. When it comes to handouts, this is definitely something we have faced on the campaign trail in terms of people, some people having an expectation that in order to get their vote,
How have you dealt with this?
I've had to explain to them that I don't engage in those kind of practices and that it's more important that you understand the issues and what your candidate stands for than just to say, hey, buy my vote and you'll get it.
You think you're getting a grasp now of the politics, how politics is played out here in Anguilla? As you go around on the circuit, as you move around?
Yes, I do think I'm getting a more rounded perspective as to how politics operates in Anguilla. From talking to people and you hear their concerns, and one thing that I have been very grateful for is that most of the people who I speak to, they're very, very candid in voicing their concerns.
And
to
you
me.
encourage this,
And I encourage them to be very candid. If they have something that they think, oh, Dee-Ann, how would you deal with this? Or I'm not really sure about, I would prefer for someone to say, this is a concern that I have, than to keep it to themselves. So I can work on something like that. I can improve. I can come to you and I say, hey, I've done my research on this particular area. Here we are now.
Quincy, are we still in this mode where we still play on the emotions of people with the handouts and the money factor and giving the appliances? Are we still in this? Are we still within this realm? Are we still operating here in Anguilla, in the Anguillan political context? And if so, what should be done? What are your views on what should be done and how this can be improved? How can we break this particular mold?
I think, Keith, one of my personal thoughts is that we need to put language to a thing and call it what it is. So when we call something handouts, we kind of make it sound light, but it's a bribe, and the bribes are illegal. And so we need to call the thing a thing and not make it feel, smoother and softer. Because as we call these things out, people are going to realize what they're engaging in. And I'm speaking to people and saying, if someone has to buy your vote by buying you food on the table, it means that they don't have the ability to empower you to provide your own food. And so we have to change the way we look at it, the way we speak about it, and then make it an uncomfortable thing. Make it something that people feel like, I should report this. I should talk about this, because we are realizing the younger generations. We have splits in generations. Very interesting to see, where someone would tell you, this politician, bought my mother blocks when she was building her house. Or this politician, paid my older brother's way to school. But I don't see what they would have done with it. For example, my older brother still can't find a job that pays him correctly. What was the value? And why can't every Anguillan have access to the same schooling? And why does a politician feel that because he paid my brother's schooling, that he's owed a vote? So we're having a challenge of thoughts during generational challenge, and I'm promoting that. I'm asking those young persons who are asking these questions to have these conversations with their parents, because the truth is we need mostly the older persons to change the way they look at this, and then we can educate the younger persons to not fall victim to accepting bribes.
Bribes, you said. Ken, let me hear your take on this. Ken Hodge.
Yeah, Keith, for me, it's much more than a message. It's really about a messenger. Okay? It has to be more than listening to carefully crafted words and expressions. It has to be all about the person who is making these comments. Okay? And this is why I think for us in the in APM, we have been going out. We have our billboards up, we have our online presence, but we have been actually going out there in the districts, house to house, door to door supermarkets, and meeting people and speaking with people so that people can see the faces behind these messages, that is not just about words to sort of encourage you or to bribe you, but really to show the sincerity of purpose that we come with in this general elections, you know. And even going back to something Quincia said, the APM is really all about empowering people. So we don't have no need to bribe people. We are about empowering them, making a better way of life that people can enjoy, a better system of life, better wages, so that there's really no need for us, Keith, to have to even, to put it bluntly, bribe people to vote for us. Our message speaks for us.
A part of our message, actually, just to wrap this handouts conversation, is that if you ask all of our candidates, our collective message is that we offer hand-ups and not handouts. And so we would like Anguillians to feel empowered to reach whatever heights they would want to reach, and not to give them momentary gifts for a vote.
The young vote in this election, from what we are seeing and what has been said on the campaign trail by the two political parties, by the independent candidates running island-wide, running in the district, that the youth vote in this election will be crucial. Why do you think the youth vote, Kyle, in this election is so critical and crucial?
Well, first of all, the youth vote is primarily a new vote, you know, and the last election 5 years ago, there are many people that would have become of age to vote. You know, they're aware, they're on social media, they're seeing the issues, they're aware, they're looking on and seeing what's happening in Anguilla, and they're interested, just like everybody else. They would have heard maybe from previous elections of the same issues being repeated election after election, and they're frustrated because they're not seeing where things are happening. They're not seeing the progress that they would like to see. You know, I would say that the young generation now, they want things to happen a little quicker, and I don't blame them. You know, I'm of that same mindset that we need to do things, and we need to be very intentional about doing
And
it.
you think you're getting that message across to them? You think you're resonating
Yeah, man.
with the young people out there?
So far, yeah, the feedback has been pretty positive.
How do you judge and gauge your feedback?
Just by having genuine
measures to you?
genuine conversation with people. You know, I'm out there every day in the streets. My job takes me through the communities, and I see them from time to time, and we have very frank and open and genuine conversations, and they're frustrated. They're frustrated with the lack of recreation in communities. They're frustrated with the lack of job opportunities. You know, it's just sad that you know, in 2020 we are still talking about the same issues we talked about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
Dee-Ann, we're still on the youth vote and the importance of that youth vote. And you've also advocated that it's time for the youth to get up and put their hands up and be counted. What is your basic message to the young people of Anguilla? Those who are here, many have left our shores and gone overseas. What would be your word for them at this time as one of the young candidates, new candidates in this election cycle? What would you want to say to them directly?
Well, I would really and truly want young people to engage politically, engage in your community, engage in Anguilla, because right now what we're seeing is that young people are stepping into direct contact with the issues. So the reason why you're finding a higher level of youth engagement is because now we're moving past being students in school. We're now in the workforce. We're now wanting to build homes, wanting to start families, wanting to start businesses. And as young people who have these ambitions, we are now face to face with the frustrations that we're facing. So when I'm advocating and appealing to young people to get out to vote, to register, although we're unsure about what's going on with the registration, but although I'm appealing to young people in terms of governance, because we want them to engage with governance. It's also because I want young people to understand that they have a role to play in where Anguilla moves in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. And when we're looking at ourselves, because as you see Quincia Gumbs, you see Kyle Hodge, you see myself, the reason why we step forward is because we want to engage in the political landscape of Anguilla, in the communities of Anguilla. That's why we've stepped forward. So our candidacy is a testament to young people who are living in Anguilla, who are frustrated. We're saying it's time for us to step forward and do something. Our time is not. There's a saying that young people are the future, young people are the now. We are. If you look across the world, the Greta Thunbergs, the young activists who are putting Malala, they're putting themselves on the line and they're speaking out because we have to take our destiny by our own hands. We can't just abdicate to individuals who are saying, okay, well, they must know better. No, that's not the message that we're trying to send. We also know what life we're living, and we do know what we want for ourselves. And I think it is a bit sad that there is the rhetoric that we don't know what we want and we young people just so unsure. That kind of rhetoric, it kind of disempowers. So what I want young people to do is to actively step forward and engage. If we see something we want to change, we have to step forward and be part of that change.
Quincy, we've been hearing nice platitudes, very nice language, coming from the young people. The question is that I've been getting: do these young people really understand what it is to get into active politics? Do they really understand what it really means to be a politician in the wider Anguillian context?
I wholeheartedly believe that we do understand, but we understand perhaps not from wanting to be here, but from not having opportunities that we believe Anguilla should have. So we look around and, we all, even if we didn't get opportunities to go to university, this is the era of young persons taking the opportunity to travel. So we've gone around the world, we've seen people grow in different ways. We've seen how different countries and economies have taken advantage of things that we in Anguilla can take advantage of. And we've seen the fact that we've felt that our politicians do not care. We've felt that. I'm not saying that they don't, but we felt that from their actions. And so we realize where we are needed and what needs to be done in terms of stepping up to the plate and ensuring that Anguilla is aware of the needs of the young Anguillian, because I don't believe that we are. I think we were basically used as a demographic. Get a band, play some music, and the young people would come out. But there's a saying that young Black Americans say a lot, is that representation matters, and young Anguillians are seeing themselves in us. Even if they may not support every young candidate for personal reasons, at least you can look up there and say, there is a young person that I can feel confident to step up to. We've approached so many groups and they're saying this is the first time, even people like 30 to 40 of 45 and under, saying this is the first time I've spoken to a politician. This is the first time somebody cared beyond coming to my house and say, where your mother does vote, hope you vote in that same place. We are revolutionizing the way campaigning is done, because we realize that one, campaigning and politics has become unnecessarily personal and trashy and bashy. And even the young Anguillian who may not be interested in entering politics, you'd have seen their sentiments on social media where they're saying, hey, politicians, election time is coming up. We don't want to hear certain things. We don't want to hear about whose mother did what. We don't want to hear about whose cousin did whatever. We want to hear about the issues. And if we can stand up and say, not only will you hear about the issues, but you'll hear from people who look and experience the same things as you, then we aren't doing the job that we came here to do. So we are really well aware of what the job is. We are aware that Anguilla also needs innovative thinkers. And so we know where our position lies, where in terms of charting Anguilla's movement forward. And we can't have persons to chart Anguilla's destination for the next 50 years, with persons that might not be able to experience those next 50 years. We have to make sure that what the political parties or the persons in politics represent the people of Anguilla, and you cannot do that without the youth voice.
Ken, there's still some persons who are questioning, if I could put it that way, why you've taken early retirement. You're pretty comfortable in the public service in a senior position. Why you've taken this position to take early retirement from the public service and get into active politics. And I want you just to explain your own thinking behind that particular move. There's still some questions being asked as to whether or not, Ken is the right person to get involved in politics. Shouldn't he just, stay out and give way to somebody else? That question. How would you address that?
Well, Keith, first off all, I don't think I would like really to be called a politician. I think over the years, politicians have basically portrayed an image, a concept that to me has not lived up to the real promise.
So what would you like to be called, if not a politician?
I think I am more of a servant of a people. I mean, yes, people say I'm a politician. But my philosophy is more of giving back to my people, helping my people.
How about a servant politician?
Okay, maybe that could work. That could work, right? But for me, Keith, if I had continued and retired comfortably at age 60, I asked myself, what was I retiring to? What was I retiring to with taxes getting higher and higher, cost of healthcare getting higher and higher?
You are not satisfied with what currently
No,
exists.
my retirement was not looking rosy at all, And I felt at this time, this deep conviction, Keith, that now was the time for me to step forward when I still have health and strength, when I still can make a meaningful contribution. And Keith, a big factor in my decision to leave had to do with my sort of the appeal of the APM, their philosophy, their vision, their mission, the whole ethos. That resonated with me. And for me, now it was now or never. And as I said on a previous interview, I took a giant leap of faith because I feel at this time I could bring something to the table. Having worked for 39 plus years, I felt that that experience could translate into a wider pattern of governance.
So you feel it was the right decision?
Ultimately,
the right thing to do at this time.
The right thing to do.
It
took a very long time, Keith. Yeah. It took a long time. I thought about it. I discussed it with my wife, my children, my family, my father. Keith, it was not an easy decision. It was not a fly-by-night. But at the end of the day, I prayed about it as well. At the end of the day, I felt it was the best thing that I could do, and I have not regretted it. I have a fantastic team around me. And I want to speak a little at some point about the young people in this party, Keith. I want to speak about the value that they have brought to this process and the hope that they have now brought back to the young people across Angola. So at some point, but at the end of the day, Keith, I left because I wanted to make a further and deeper contribution to the life and development of this country.
Kyle, let's get back to the economy. It's generally felt that the economy is in shambles. Nothing is really happening, or very little is happening inside there. Let's get to the solution now, some solutions. How can the Anguillian economy be revitalized, whatever, be reshaped, restructured, energized, re-energized, as the case might be? Kyle Hodge in office, how will you do this?
Yeah, Keith, definitely the creation of industries. As a small country, we don't have much natural resources, but the little that we do, we need to be intentional in making sure that we, as a people, our people, capitalize.
What kind of industries?
And we're talking about farming, we're talking about fishing, and I'll go further. We're talking about the textile industry. We have talented and gifted people in Angola that can utilize their skills to produce in Angola. And once you can produce something locally, Keith, you have to have some type of protection for these people.
You think we have the platform,
Yes.
the base to launch into these
course.
industries?
If we get involved with protecting our local businesses, then they will expand. They will do what is necessary to upgrade their services.
So it's imperative that
It's imperative. As a small economy,
we hold our local
big
businesses.
economies protect themselves.
Yeah.
So we as a small economy, we don't have a choice.
Protection how?
In the terms of
how would you protect them?
in the
What
terms
would
of-
you need to do?
In terms of the way we charge duties, the way we collect customs tariffs. If we have someone here producing a uniform, making a uniform, a school uniform, then the importation of a uniform from another country, the duties of that should be a lot higher. I'm not saying that you're gonna ban everything from coming in from overseas, but make it a little more expensive, make it a little more difficult to have to bypass. Why would you want to bypass local when, as a people, we go all out in terms of our perfectionism, in terms of when we do something, we do it to a high standard in Anguilla.
Yeah. Quincy, stimulating the economy, getting it going. I know I know you would have some thoughts on this. What are some of the ideas that you would bring to the table to stimulate and energize and drive the economy, get it back up to where it ought to be?
Well, first of all, I would say that no effort to stimulate the economy should be done without ensuring equal effort in education and training. So if we would like to go into the blue economy and technology, and as a result, our education and training should reflect that to ensure that Anguillians can take advantage of that and further it beyond 5, 10, 15 years. We need to ensure that we have continued investment in it. So that's number one. But when I say the blue economy, I want to touch a little bit on that, where we want to get into fishing and we can't get into fishing without ensuring sustainable measures are done. So we get into fishing, but we also ensure that aquaculture is also a priority, and ensure that we have fish nurseries and have a constant check on our level and fish population in our waters. So we have to realize what departments at this very moment take precedence. That is the Department of IT, Department of Environment, Fisheries, and Education.
So those are key
very
departments.
Very key.
departments.
We can't say we're going to put all this money into education and not put all this money into fishing and not put equal into education to ensure that Anguillians can take advantage of that. Because we are at a point where we realize that a lot of persons do not want to mess with our tourism products. And whether we have individual or collective differences, that is, should we diversify? Should we look into a different product? Should we continue on the high-end route?
What do you think? Should we diversify?
I do think that we should diversify.
Why?
Because we either need to diversify or work wholeheartedly to make sure all our product represents what it is. So when I say that, I say if we're going to be high-end, we need to ensure that all the supporting structures and all of the other businesses are high-end. And if we're not, we must diversify to ensure that every person has a part to get from the pot. Because right now we kind of have high-end hotels, but not high-end facilities. Even before our port was destroyed by Irma, our port was not a high-end port. And that then brings me to the other part of the blue economy, where we need to figure out if we are going to try to fit into the international airport market, or as a country, go into trans-regional transportation, because we can benefit from all of the international airports that already exist around us.
Do you have a preference?
My personal goal, as in if I was not getting into politics right now, I do want to start a transferry across the region. That's my personal goal. And we have the facilities here. The thing is, we need to ensure that we're not just replacing the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal. We must ensure that there is room for expansion. Because I should not only be able to go to this new upgraded facility to go to St. Martin. I should be able to go to St. Kitts. I should be able to sail on to Antigua. I should go to Tortola, St. Thomas. We should have these opportunities. We have the boat building facilities in Anguilla. We have the interest in boating. We have so many catamarans across Anguilla. Then as a government, there's not much that needs to be done to ensure that Anguillians can take advantage of maritime movement across the region. Because when you look in every Caribbean development plan, they always talk about the lack of trans regional ferry services. They always talk about that. So my question is, why should we then try to tap into the international airport market if we already missed that opportunity? But here lies something that we have all the ingredients for, but we only lack the political will and the government's push to ensure that it happens.
Dee-Ann, what are some of the low-hanging fruits that we can tap into almost immediately, in your view, to stimulate, energize, and boost Anguilla's economy, make it better?
One of the things about economy, especially with what Kyle was saying in terms of protecting local businesses, is there are certain tools which are available to the government that they can use to help protect local businesses. Kyle mentioned
Textile?
No. Kyle mentioned increasing the customs duty.
Yes.
But you can also impose quotas. And what quotas do is they allow you to cap a certain amount of things coming into your country, so then your local suppliers, your local economy, your private businesses then have the ability to tap into the excess. So you're not telling people, hey, you don't have no access to this good at all, but you're saying, hey, this money needs to start circulating back inside the economy. That's on one hand. But on the other hand, what we can do as organizations is, as a government organization, is to work with our local retailers, our local businesses, to make sure that they are creating good value, quality value. Because what tends to happen is that people start looking at what the change off, what can I get from overseas versus what can I get from Anguilla. And when people do that balancing exercise, which most people do, they say, well, I'd actually rather just pay the $5 more and get something from overseas than go to a local supplier. So we work with our local companies in order to make them more competitive, because once you're competing with the international market, they'll have access to cheaper raw materials. They'll have access to the expertise at a cheaper level. So we have to make sure that we equip our local businesses to compete locally.
How do we do this?
That is to help them get into the culture of buying and spending in Anguilla. Because that's an important part of how people make decisions with their money. There's opportunity costs with everything. So you want to equip your local businesses with the upper hand by knowing the culture better than the international markets. And you carry out workshops, you help there are some programs, the youth development business program.
Get Set?
No, not the one.
Anguilla Youth Business Foundation.
Yeah, the Anguilla Youth Business Foundation and the Get Set program. But we want to create the background. We don't want to just. There's a slight danger with creating policies in isolation, with not looking and having the research and the research to back up. How do we get there? How do we make sure that the policy isn't something that will fall through the cracks once it's implemented? And the way we make sure that it doesn't fall through the cracks is by having the research and the statistics, and then providing proper support, which then leads to the businesses being able to compete more at a higher level, which then goes into when consumers are making the choice between international goods and local goods, making the choice for local goods. So even in education, that's also an educational aspect, ensuring that people understand the how does buying this product actually assist my country. Because a lot of people, when you look in the UK and the US, there's a massive buy local, go local program in those countries. And the reason why those programs are doing well is because people are understanding that if they spend $1 at a local farmer or a local business, that dollar is staying in the United States of America or the UK. If we spend $1 here, we want to ensure that they understand that that dollar is going back into your economy. So it's going back into those businesses that are providing scholarships for your students, those businesses that are providing opportunities for people in internships. So it's a very interlinked network that we want to create a robust system to support.
How does this all dovetail into the young entrepreneur? Because we've been hearing a lot of this on the campaign trail, that we need to help young people develop businesses here in Anguilla. There's a real need to see young people starting up their own businesses.
Well, it's what gonna happen, Keith, is that you can inspire them to not just be farmers, and not just be fishermen, but when these industries expand, we have need for accountants, we have need for people to deliver, we have need for people to market. There are different needs that comes with the industries. Something we're going to talk about. So it's just about putting those things in place first and foremost, and then all the other byproducts. So we talk about agriculture. There's the byproducts from agriculture. We have Fire Farm hot sauce up in the eastern part of the island. That's an industry. He can grow, he can expand. It is expensive for him to import his bottles.
Yeah.
He uses bottles from China. It's very expensive after he have to ship them across the world to come to Anguilla. Why, Keith? I want to move on to something else. Why today it is cheaper to bring in plain fabric? Sorry, it is cheaper to bring in a complete uniform than it is to bring in plain fabric. Why is it cheaper to import a printed newspaper than to bring in the newsprint to print on? Why is it cheaper? Why do we pay more taxes to bring in plain raw materials than it is to bring in the finished product? It doesn't make any sense. And when you talk to people in authority, they do absolutely nothing about it. It's very, very frustrating as a business person in Anguilla.
But I think
Yeah, Quincy, and then I'll go to Ken.
Kyle is touching on is that in order to inspire young entrepreneurs, you have to treat the existing ones in a way that encourages persons to get into the market. And right now, when you go around, every local entrepreneur is hurting. They're complaining. They're talking about they don't have opportunities to do this. They don't have the support to do that. And young persons, they're listening. They're seeing the lack of support. They're seeing where, if the government did X, Y, and Z, then this business would be able to thrive in such and such a way. So who am I? Because I don't have a name as yet for myself. I'm just stepping in. Who am I to go into to a minister of government and say, hey, can you help me with this? They don't see anything to work upon. And when we
That's based on the feedback you're getting.
That is based on the feedback, because
someone told me the other day. Persons?
Yeah, someone told me the other day, Quincy, when you think the next Albert Lake will come about in Anguilla, never again in our time. It should not be the feeling that our best days are behind us.
Yeah.
It should not be that feeling. But when they look around, they're not seeing the support. They're seeing legacies being erased. They're seeing investments going for naught. So it's something that we have to work on.
Yeah. Ken, you've been pushing quite a bit on the campaign trail, this whole thing, the need to take care of our senior citizens. That has been a key plank for you. Why is this so important? Taking care of the elderly and those senior citizens who've contributed immensely to Anguilla's growth and development over the years.
Because, Keith, the institutional knowledge of Anguilla is vested in our seniors, Keith. The way of life, I spoke Saturday evening about the whole thing of jollification and the way our forebears were able to practice food security, where they reaped the corn and peas and yams and they saved and they shared. The fact that our young people, Keith, can learn so much from our seniors, that way of life. On a Saturday morning, Brother Lee has a program, Culturally Yours, where he speaks to all of these senior citizens and their contributions to Anguilla. And Keith, that is why I'm so passionate about our senior citizens. The fact that so much generations of history is wrapped up in them. And when I sat and I listened to the interview the other day on class on Cool FM with the late Bonnis Lake, and I listened to the rich history of how life was back in those days. She is no longer with us. He was able to document that, and he can play that from now until whenever. So I'm saying, Keith, we have to look after our seniors. We have to be able to give them that respect. They built this country. They built Anguilla into what it is today. And it hurts me that in the years when they should be enjoying their twilight years, they don't have proper parks to go to. We have some excellent homes in Anguilla. And essentially they are, for want of a better word, daycare centers. So they feed our seniors, they clothe them. But in terms of the activities, they're able to go out and do a little tennis, a little this. Have a park to go out and breathe some fresh air. take them around. Sometimes Anguilla Day is the only time when the seniors get a chance to come out and mingle. Okay? So yes, I'm passionate about it. Because I came up around my grandparents and I saw and I listened to the contributions they make. And I hope at some point that we in Anguilla can pass on these same values to our children. Okay? And I want the seniors to be able in these twilight years to be able to have the best quality of health care. One lady showed me in a village a hospital bill for thousands of dollars. How can she pay that hospital bill, Keith? You see? So I am of the firm view, Keith, that Anguilla Progressive Movement, we will, not that we thinking about it, we will make a better way of life for our seniors. We have to give them that respect that they have contributed to the growth of this country, and we are going to give them their respect as they grow older.
Let's move now to the very key issue of land. Dee-Ann, the last time you were here, when I interviewed you the last time, I got some feedback from a listener to the interview, and I would like to share some of that with you, some of the questions that the individual tossed out. The fundamental principle, as you've argued, Dee-Ann, the fundamental principle guiding valuation of land cannot be used or valued as agriculture. And there's some persons who argue the opposite, citing a change in the Land Acquisition Act, Section 18. Now, in relation to land use for agriculture, can a nation remain strong and healthy on the sole reliance of the importation of basic food?
So this is in relation to food. Okay. One thing that we are working towards as a party is food security. It's very important for your national development and for in terms of resiliency, because we are faced with superstorms and hurricanes, and we have to factor in all these things when thinking about how do we promote food security in Anguilla.
The whole climate change issue.
The whole climate change issue. The truth of the matter is that we are going to have to import for some of our needs. That's right now, that's a reality in terms of the type of the land space that Anguilla has to go into agricultural and animal farming, fishing, hydroponics at the current rate that we're standing at, current place where we're standing at.
And only 5% of the current land use, as I've researched,
yes,
is government owned.
Only 5% of the current land use is owned by the government. So in terms of how do we promote food security in Anguilla, it's really about focusing on supporting our local farmers to expand their capabilities, not just to provide locally, because what a lot of the regional St. Kitts and Nevis in particular, what they're doing is they're now moving to promote exportation for their farmers. So they're trying to assist them in terms of water costs, the cost of feed, the importation cost of these things, to then be able to expand their capabilities to export to neighboring islands. And this is something that, one thing, the difficulty in Anguilla is really in relation to the type of soil that we have on most areas on Anguilla. It's not as, let's just say, rich as some places in St. Kitts and Nevis where they have kind of volcanic nutrients. So we do have restraints in terms of how do we expand our agricultural sector, but that doesn't mean that we don't start by supporting our farmers.
Ken, you wanted to interject, guys?
Keith, just to take a bit about what Dee-Ann said, just on Saturday evening at Courtney's Lounge in Stony Ground, I had a long conversation with one of our local farmers. You know, he produces a lot of pumpkins and other vegetables. And the question came up, how does a farmer who may have a couple hundred pounds of tomatoes, peppers, pumpkins, how does that farmer manage to go out and sell all of this produce and still find time to keep working the ground, because you have to keep at it? And this has been a conversation from my civil service days when we've been talking about the whole concept of marketing, right? And one of the aspects of that module we have spoken so much about with agriculture, fisheries, and environment marketing would have been a central component of that, where we would have taken the sort of onus off the farmer, and somebody would go out and actually market the produce to the different supermarkets, restaurants. Okay, so the farmer had more time to devote to tilling the soil, so to speak. And the other aspect we spoke about on Saturday night, which I want to raise here again, the whole concept of the quality of produce in Anguilla. The whole concept of wanting to highlight or promote that made in Anguilla, a product of Anguilla, or produced in Anguilla. Because when you go into the supermarkets, some of them will put on some of the packages local. But sometimes you can't differentiate between what is local and what is imported. And so we have to begin to develop that brand made in Anguilla so that the visitor can see what is local from what is imported. And I can tell you from using the local produce, Keith, it is better, it is sweeter, it lasts longer, and it's better for you. You understand me? So I want to begin to push that whole concept, Keith, of made in Anguilla, and to begin to assist the farmers with the marketing of their produce so that we can really push that whole local food security, Keith. I think Dee-Ann alluded to it. Keith, that is absolutely essential to us. When we see the natural disasters, when we see what's happening around the world, persons are beginning to safeguard their own borders. So we have to do that in terms of our food security.
Kyle, you wanted to
as we speak about agriculture, we have
food security.
Yeah, we have the Department of Agriculture. That is a department that we can utilize as that one central location to record what we produce. We can also use that department to find out the different demands that's out there, because we have to marry the sectors. So we have to marry agriculture with the tourism and the hospitality sector. So we need to engage them to find out what are their demands, how much produce they use per month in the high season, how much they use in the low season. And we gather this data from both sides, and we allow the agricultural department to be that one basket where all the produce that we have goes there, and then from there it gets distributed to the different sectors, and it includes the supermarkets as well.
Just to piggyback on something Ken said in terms of marketing the Made in Anguilla brand on our local produce, I can say from personal experience, because we also run a farm, that the tourists, the expats, when they come here, what they want is our locally produced agricultural products. That's what they want, and they can tell the difference in terms of quality. So it's not to say that we don't have a quality product. It's just about expanding our capacity and our ability to produce more for our local market. And that's part of the discussion that Kyle, myself, and Quincy were having in relation to the local farmers who are producing in a certain amount, but if they went to a supermarket, they wouldn't be able to necessarily drop off their goods there or sell their goods there, because there's already a supply coming in from overseas. Now, this is I think it's a delicate issue, because you also have to take into consideration that the retailers are looking for consistency in their supply. But what we want to do is enable our local markets to be able to produce on a consistent basis a certain amount, so that when we're talking about how much can you produce, there is space in the local market for their capacity. So then the excess is really on the international suppliers.
And Quincy, I'm sure you would want to tie the different bits and pieces together, because you've said that I've heard you on the platform speaking and tying all of this, the education, the manufacturing, the farming, tie all of those things. How would you tie, link the linkages, the thread running through all of those?
Well, first I would say that this needs to be the approach that government takes to everything. I think what has been happening, and not I think, it's based on speaking to people, because this is an educational process for us ourselves, because we have our individual ideas and we need to go to different people to find out and get more information. But what's been happening is that you may take us. So Kyle says, all right, let's use the Department of Agriculture to be that basket for the island. But then there's no further follow up with reducing the cost of water for farmers, or if they want to bring in any fertilizers, ensuring that the rate for fertilizers, is appropriate to ensure that our because what happens with our product is not necessarily that it is not that the quality is low, but the price is high because the cost to produce is high. So then so we have to look at all of the things, and I think that is a problem as well when we have a government that the departments don't speak to each other unless individuals kind of take it upon themselves and say, oh wait, somebody is missing.
So how will the APM government address some of those
getting
issues?
Right to it. So e-governance is something that's very important to me. And one of the things I would people say, this isn't a bread and butter issue. It definitely is, because everything doesn't have to be directly linked to the economy to fuel the economy. But e-governance will ensure that the departments, interdepartmental communication occurs, because we are not at that point where we can kind of see what is happening at IT from agriculture, because I need the assistance of this department. What it takes right now is calling a person, finding out, but there are not enough linkages, a promotion of the need to link. So what happens that departments are running, in some instances they do link, but departments are generally running on their own, and that is not necessarily a government person problem, but it is definitely a communication that exists in governments that we need to address if we want to be more productive as a government, efficient as a government, and provide our citizens a higher standard of service.
I have a few more questions on the line, but we just got a question in from a caller who came into our switchboard for Ken. And the caller is saying that Ken just mentioned that his pension is much. What will he do directly for public servants if elected? Would he increase salaries? Will he ensure that they get their deferred salaries? A question for you, Ken Hart.
Keith, excellent question. The doctor, our leader, has pledged within 6 months of coming to office that all deferred salaries will be settled up for civil servants. That's a pledge that he has made. Keith, I am very passionate about the public service because I worked there for 39 years. Keith, I have felt the pain of our public servants. We have worked tirelessly, Keith, to support the government and its policies. Okay? And we have worked under very trying conditions, Keith. Okay? So yes, I want to look out for my public servants. I would like to see, Keith, civil servants get a sensible increase in salary. Right now, civil servants are way down the chain in terms of their salaries and the cost of living. We have to do something about that. Okay? Some 10 years ago, they would have reduced salaries. But they have to now, look, we of the APM, we now have to look at really beginning to give civil servants some ways that will help to elevate their living standards. Okay?
Any idea of where you will possibly find that money, Ken?
Good, that's a really good question.
Where will that money come from?
That's a good question. Because I am saying, Keith, we need to reduce the cost of running government. Okay, we have to drive costs down. And Keith, there are simple ways of doing that after that.
Does that mean cutting the public service?
No. I am not in favor of cutting the public service, because when you send public servants home, you are sending them out there so to be in, I would say, abject poverty. What we can do, Keith, is to lower things like the amount of supplies that we have to buy. So we're looking at bulk purchasing of supplies, Keith. We look at things like refitting our departments with energy saving devices. And Keith, there have been studies done. So I'm not speaking out of the clear blue sky. There were studies done by our very Department of Environment, who went through the different departments and did studies on how energy conservation could be done. In a lot of cases, Keith, those recommendations are not being
So
implemented.
you're saying categorically, Ken, that those things
they can be done.
can be done without question. They can be done. You're saying that.
We can begin to put solar panels on every building in government. All of these new buildings, and I must say that I am not informed, so I would hope that all of these new buildings that are going up, that we're going to see solar panels on every single roof. Okay, Keith? I hope that we're going to see energy efficient lights. We're going to see timers that when you leave the room, the lights go off. I want to see when night comes that air conditioners are not running all night. I'm hoping, I don't know, I'm only speculating, okay? I've gone to neighboring islands and I have seen housing developments. And on every house in those developments, I'm talking hundreds of houses, there are solar panels. So yes, Keith, there are ways and means that we can drive costs down, but we must, Keith, look at the welfare of public servants. We have to look at the working conditions. There are issues with things of victimization, bullying, those kinds of things. And that is what the transformation program that I was spearheading was all about. And I want to see those things continue, Keith. So yes, let me assure that caller, the welfare of the public servants is very much on my mind.
I just want to zoom back in on the land issue because I know this is a very sensitive issue here in Anguilla. And whenever you speak about land in Anguilla, it's a big. Does it make good economic sense or land usage sense that all prime fertile lands be traded for built development and valued at the same cost of beachfront property? Now, this has been an issue, beachfront lands as opposed to lands on the interior, further in, and how that ought to play out. Dee-Ann, what are your thoughts on this?
Could you repeat that for me, please?
Does it make good economic sense, a land usage sense, that all prime fertile lands be traded for built development and valued at the same cost of beachfront property? The valuation they're speaking about here.
I really don't know if prime fertile lands would actually be traded for built development. In the sense of we're taking the lands and we're using them to put up more structures in Anguilla. What I would say in relation to having land that's now valued at the same cost as prime beachfront land, I think that that's a bit of a exaggeration in the sense that land is not valued in terms of it's not just wherever this piece of land by the beachfront and this piece of land in the center of the land would not be valued at the same cost. That's a practical that wouldn't happen. It'll be valued based on where it's actually located. So whatever the piece of land is, and the fact of the matter is there is a lot of there is a case that's going on that's going to determine whether or not the position taken by the Court of Appeal, which is that Anguillian land is developmental land, whether or not that will be something that is taken into consideration going forward. So that's still a question that is meant to be determined, that could be determined, although actually I don't think that particular point was put on review, so that position actually still stands. So what we would want to do in terms of developing our agricultural lands in Anguilla, once we're looking at, okay, let's say if the government says that they want to acquire land for agricultural purposes, then it is incumbent on the government not only to say, hey, we want to take this land, so we're going to acquire it, but to actually engage in a conversation with the landowners to say, okay, this is for public use, and to see whether or not this is a consideration that can bear on the
so you want everything on the table and have some conversations.
You have a conversation as to in relation to the landowners, in relation to the payment schedule or how it's going to actually work out. So that's also very important, because in Anguilla we do have a very small amount of land in in government as government ownership. So what we do with that land is going to be very important in terms of national development.
And you've advocated in open spaces and green spaces for recreation and environmental.
Yes.
I know the whole green energy
Yeah.
is a strong part of the APM campaign, and I know you've been a firm advocate of the whole green energy. I think the entire party, across the party, that has been a big issue for the party.
One thing we really want to do is we want to promote energy conservation. So it starts with education. Again, it's almost the bedrock of everything we do, because once you start promoting how do you save, how you break it down into practical terms for people to understand. How do I save money by conserving energy? So once people see the financial benefit of it, that will incentivize them into investing in energy saving light bulbs, LED light bulbs, how to use less electricity in the houses. So once they take,
and this is what you and your party is advocating on the campaign trail.
Yes. So we want to slowly acclimatize our people about using green energy and becoming more conservationists, so that we can then take that from there and really go into using renewable energy sources like solar panels, so that we can then become a green island.
I had the opportunity last week to speak to a sixth form economics class, and one of the things that I told them is that, as they become of age to drive and they get a license, that your first car is never your dream car. Your first car should be the most economical car. It should make practical sense, because you're young and you need to save, you need to grow, right? So I preach to them that their first car should be an electric car, because it allows them to save. I have an electric car, right? And the gas bill that I would have been paying is the same money that I'm using to pay my new.
What's the initial outlay for an electric car?
The initial what?
Outlay capital for an electric
it's
car.
Just like a regular car. I mean,
ballpark, even figure.
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah, roughly.
Okay.
And that's a second-hand, good condition electric car. And the savings, the maintenance savings, the gas savings, it goes directly to...
So while the initial sum might appear to be large, huge for some persons, the overall benefits far outweigh,
of course,
the initial cost.
Of course, and you have dealers here that are bringing them in, and it gives young people an opportunity to pay monthly, to have a small deposit and pay monthly.
So you'd
but
like to see more of that in
yes,
Anguilla,
of course.
in
but
Anguilla.
I think that the government had a very good opportunity when they brought 15 new Jeeps. What kind of headline? Yeah. Can you imagine the headline it would have made? The buzz around the world it would have made if the headline had said, Anguilla government bought 15 electric vehicles. That type of buzz alone would encourage people to visit this forward-thinking country, this progressive country. We get bad headlines and people stay away from Anguilla, right? But when we get good headlines, it attracts visitors as well.
Quincia Gumbs, green energy.
Well, in order for anything to work, that is not something that we are accustomed of thinking of. It must first become a culture, something culturally accepted. So we must make it normal and normalize the idea of conservation. We can't just really jump into it. Our green initiative starts with education and small changes. So like Dee-Ann mentioned, the kind of light bulbs you use in your home. Kyle mentioned the kind of car you drive. Kenneth mentioned having solar panels on the government buildings. So governments must also lead the way and buy into their own ideas. It cannot be a situation where the government is like, hey, we want everybody to build green, but then they still have, emissions coming out on top of every government building. We have to make sure that we take the necessary steps to show that we also buy into our own ideas. So conservation, it means there was a program that I went to when I was younger at the library, and they still run it, I believe, where they talk about reduce, reuse, recycle. We had to come up with our own songs. We had to come up with it. We had to go home and tell our parents about what green ways that we can reduce and reuse it at home. But after that, it can't just stop there. What ideas of conservation and green energy are you seeing used in the high schools? So where are you being taught to recycle? Is there a separate bin for glass bottles? Simple things like that would impact the way you use energy.
So would an APM government lead by example in taking up Kyle's by getting electric vehicles? Would an APM government take the lead by getting ministers of government or whoever leading the way and purchasing?
Well, we just got the 15 cars. So I don't know where, but if we do have the opportunities, because we already had this conversation.
Because I'm sure that's what people will be asking. Would you lead? Would you lead the way?
We have to find a way to lead, definitely, in the vehicles part. Yeah. But in terms of how we operate,
or even vehicles for government services and so on.
Right. Yeah. In terms of the way we offer services, and it's small ideas. Like in bigger cities, we may not use it in Anguilla, but you can park your vehicle at one spot, and then you can rent a bike, and you bike around the city. And it may seem frivolous, but actually having done it, it is an extremely amazing feeling, because it becomes cultural. And then also with imagine a future of Anguilla where we have electric park meter on the outside, where anybody who owns an electric car, if they're away from home, they put in their $10 and they leave their car to park and they go to work. Things like
Charging
that.
port.
Exactly, and we charge it. And so we have to ensure that all of our ideas are represented by our own whole buy-in. We can't just say we're doing this thing and walking away from it. And I'll go back to the first question you asked about one of the earlier questions you asked about the position of the place for young persons in politics. You'd realize that banning the plastics, that was a youth-driven move. And so you realize that our way forward directly links to young persons ensuring that there is an Anguilla for future Anguillians inherit. And part of that heavily relies on green energy.
Quickly around the table, I see we've been beaten out by the time here. Kenneth, so yes, go ahead.
No, well, really what I wanted to say about Saturday, you have heard so much this morning, so you need to come out on Saturday evening to hear a lot more, Keith, because the ideas are flowing, the energy is flowing, our young people are on top. And Saturday, Keith, is such a proud moment for me because it's the launch of Dee-Ann Kentish-Rogers. And it's on the historic Lansom estate. The historical significance of that estate, the seat of power back up until 1967. So we are really seeing now youth replacing that old way of things. You understand me? So it's going to be an exciting day on Saturday. I'm going to allow Dee-Ann to speak about it, but I'm going to be proud to be there, and I'm inviting everybody to come out to really see youth on display. Dee-Ann, Kyle, and Quincia, our young ambassadors.
So to you, Dee-Ann,
yes.
As we wrap up, why should people
encourage people to
vote for
Dee-Ann
Kentish-Rogers?
Well, I'll get to the voting. You should vote for me because I represent an individual on a team of dedicated Anguillians who wants to empower young people, who wants to take care of our older citizens, and who wants to take an integrated and holistic view as to how we can move this country forward into the 21st century. But other than that, I also want to encourage you to come out to my launch on Saturday, the 15th of February, at the Lanson Bowl Cultural Center, which is the birthplace of my public persona from 2017 when I entered the Miss Anguilla pageant. But I also want you to come out there to just listen to the issues, listen to young people who are willing to do what is necessary for Anguilla, irrespective of the personal costs, irrespective of what individuals have to say about us. We believe in what we're here for, and I think that is showing itself every day. And when we go house to house, I can feel on this island that people are understanding and they're listening and they are taking heed. So I really want to welcome you to come out on 15th of February at 6 p.m.
Kyle Hodge, why should people vote for you?
Keith, I'm a man of the community, a man of the people. I have a strong connection and a strong love for people and business in Anguilla. I'm someone that brings a lot of heart, a lot of compassion to the table, someone that brings a lot of determination to get things done. And, I will do all that I can possibly do to empower the people of Anguilla to have a better standard of life in their country.
Quincia, why a vote for you will not be a waste of vote?
I wholeheartedly believe that to be able to run for public office is an extreme privilege, one that I don't take lightly. And I've realized that although I have my personal reasons for running, from campaigning, there is a need for representation that speaks for the people. And so while I started off with an idea of what I want to do, my personal new outlook based on conversations is to be the voice of the people. People don't have representation, they don't have access to the mic. So a vote for me is a vote for your voice. I believe in carrying on the message, ensuring that each person has an opportunity to feel that their government represents them, is listening and cares. And so a vote for me is to bring back the kind of leadership that cares, listens, and ensures that every individual, in spite of their background, in spite of their political beliefs, have an opportunity to grasp hold of a life in Anguilla.
Kenneth Hodge, in 30 seconds, why should people vote for you?
Keith, it's all about service to me. It's all about making a better way of life for my people. It's about making a better way of life for civil servants I worked so many years with, for hospitality workers, for making Anguilla a better place. And Keith, I'm a man of my word. Service is not new to me, something I've been doing all my life, and I pledge to continue doing that until I am no longer able to continue.
Thank you, Kenneth Hodge. We've been talking to Dee-Ann Kentish-Rogers, the district candidate for District 4 for the Anguilla Progressive Movement, and you also heard from the island-wide APM representatives, Quincia Gumbs-Marie, Kyle Hodge, and Kenneth Hodge. We were expecting Kennedy Hodge, but he is not here with us today. So, ladies, gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.